About 5 years ago, my dad had called, said he was dying of liver cancer. Well, it was cirrhosis of the liver. And I wanted to spend more time with my dad, so I packed up my stuff, headed to California. About 3 years after I moved here, the cirrhosis got bad, and he was in the hospital a lot. He was going through a lot of stuff. He almost passed away a few times, and then COVID hit, and I started watching The Rock online. My dad went to the hospital on Christmas one day, and I remember driving to work, and I started praying for the first time in my life. Then I wanted to start going to church. I looked up Rock Church, which one the closest campus was to Ramona, and I feel like God was leading me to El Cajon campus. Shortly after I signed up for life class, took life class, that's when things started changing in my life. My mother was in church, but my father was not. I didn't know much about prayer. I just know that the people I'd seen praying, Pastor Miles, the people at El Cajon, they had prayers. And I was like, wow, that's, like they really believe in prayer. So I was driving to work one day, and I was coming off the mountain in Ramona, and I could actually see the hospital that my dad was at. This was right after Christmas. And I was just looking down there, and because of COVID protocol, you couldn't see anybody in the hospital. And I thought my dad was going to pass away, and I wasn't going to get to say goodbye to him. So I started praying to God for the first time, and I asked him for more time with my father. And not only did I ask for more time, I asked for my father's relationship to grow in God. And he answered that prayer. So one day I was at work, and I was looking into a toolbox where we hold cutting tools for the machines I run. And I felt something behind me. And the first thing that pops in my mind is, Jesus is behind me. And I kept saying that, Jesus is behind me, Jesus. And I started thinking, am I losing my mind? What's wrong with me? Why am I thinking this? And I just kept thinking, Jesus is behind me, Jesus is behind me. 2 days later, we were mopping the floor. And this is a metal shop where people don't walk around with bare feet. They walk around with steel-toed boots. Nobody's gonna walk in there barefooted, not even the owner of the shop. So we were mopping the floor, and like oil separates in water, there was one singular bare footprint directly behind where I was standing. And I look down and I see this footprint, and I'm like, there's a footprint in the floor. And the guys hear me, and they're like, what'd you say? And I was like, there's a footprint in the floor. It's like, come check it out. We come over there, and they look at it, and they're like, what's that doing there? I was like, I don't know. I was hoping one of y'all could answer that. So I just kept thinking, how could that have gotten there? Who's walking around here barefooted? And why are there no tracks leading up to it or away from it? One singular footprint. Like, how is that even possible? So I pull out my cell phone and I take a picture of it. And I kept thinking about it after that. Every day after that, I was like, why is there that footprint? And I feel like that was my Red Sea. That was my parting of the Red Sea. That was a mark that God left there for me to say, look, I'm real. This is real, And I truly believe, I know I was baptized in the Holy Spirit that day, because after that encounter that day, my life changed drastically. I quit cursing. I quit shortly after that taking the opiate addiction medication. I quit smoking cannabis, and I say I quit. It wasn't me who did it. I've tried my entire life to get off these things. I tried multiple times and failed. I went to rehab. I went to mental institutions, and I couldn't seem to do it on my own. I didn't think there was any good left on this earth. Before God encountered me, I didn't want to live anymore. I really didn't. I feel like he showed me that love. He showed me his goodness. And that to me is everything. His love is everything. And now I wake up every day and I want to live, and not only live, but live my life for God, knowing that there's a Father in heaven that truly cares for us. Not just cares for us, but cares for every single little detail in our life. And that's truly a blessing, because there's a lot of times in my life I felt like I was alone, and I'm not alone anymore. I have Him, and He goes everywhere with me. He goes before me. He comes behind me. He's always there for me, and I know He'll never forsake me. He'll never leave me. He'll always be by my side, even through that fire, even through everything I went through. He was with me, and that just is that's everything to me.